For a few years in the 1970s, the Mr. Asia syndicate made millions.
Heroin creates its own market. It acts like a form of plague.
Until jealousy, betrayal, and murder brought it all crashing down.
Then he just pulled out a gun, shot her in the back of the head, and then said to Wayne, "You're going to help me bury her."
This is Mr. Asia, A Forgotten History. All episodes now available on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB. The only place for the big names, the big issues, the big controversies, and the big conversations. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
Kia ora, good afternoon. Welcome into Weekend Sport, the Sunday edition for April 6. Happy 24th birthday to Australian McLaren Formula One driver Oscar Piastri, who's going to start third on the grid at the Japanese Grand Prix later today on his birthday. I'm Jason Pine, show producer Andy McDonald, talking sport with you until 3, jam-packed show, as usual. Motor racing first up, motor racing royalty first up. F1 legend David Coulthard, MBE, is with us very shortly ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix later on today. Liam Lawson will start 13th on the grid. He's qualified ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, who's 14th. That, of course, after the car swap earlier this week. Max Verstappen absolutely tearing it up in qualifying. The thoughts of David Coulthard shortly, and then yours. How do you reckon Liam will go this afternoon? 5 o'clock is the scheduled start time for the Japanese Grand Prix. Other matters around today. Are Moana Pacifica the real deal?
Slade, who's had a good game, onto Taylor. Oh my goodness me, the number 8's gone all the way. Samisi Dupo Taylor straight through, past 4 defenders. And the number 8 dots down.
Back-to-back wins for the very first time. Super Rugby's entertainers. Halfback Jonathan Taumatina is with us after 2. And answer me this. Who is Auckland's favourite rugby team now? When the Blues host Moana Pacifica next weekend at Eden Park, who's going to have the most fans there? The Blues, meantime, kept their season alive last night with victory over the Hurricanes.
Christie asking if it's time. Angus Gardner says it is. He kicks it over the touch, and the Blues hang on by 1.
The Crusaders beat the Drua to move second.
Tapped by James O'Connor. There is the full-time whistle. And for the first time, the Crusaders beats the Drua in Fiji.
And the Highlanders' losing streak continued.
Game over. They've won 2 and lost 5, have the Highlanders in 2025. And it's another excruciating loss. 29 points to 20.
The Force are fourth. Fourth! Goodness me, all 4 Australian sides, meantime, are still in the top 6 at the midway point of the season. Lots to chew over with Super Rugby. The Black Caps, meantime, starting to build some next generation depth. A new look side sweeping Pakistan in a 3-game one-day international series which wrapped up yesterday at the Mount. New Zealand Cricket's former talent identification manager and high-performance coach Paul Wiseman with us after 1. Is this depth actually real? Are we actually developing a really good next generation of talent? Pace bowler Ben Sears on the show too after he took back-to-back 5-wicket bags. We're stateside with our latest wrap of US Sport. Leon Busby checking in before 3 and James McConey in his regular slot on a Sunday as well. Live sport while we're on the air today. The Singapore Sevens continue, the National League basketball competition and some National League football to keep an eye on as well. But, heaps of times for your calls as well. And your correspondence, you can get in touch on the phone, 0800 80 1080, 9292 for your text messages. Emails into me, Jason, at newstalkzb.co.nz. Just gone 10 past midday.
Analysing every view from every angle in the sporting world. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine. Call 0800 80 1080. News Talk ZB.
Liam Lawson has out-qualified stablemate Yuki Tsunoda for tonight's Formula One Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka.
This is a better showing from Lawson, who would dearly love to put his racing bulls into the top 10 at the expense of the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda, which was his car last time out. Lawson does go top 10 and does go ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda's first qualifying then for the Japanese Grand Prix as a Red Bull driver ends in disappointment, out in Q2. Liam Lawson just ahead of him. What a battle that could be between the two drivers in tomorrow's race.
Yes, so Lawson and Tsunoda will start 13th and 14th respectively, just over a week after Red Bull made the decision to swap the two drivers. Liam Lawson's best time was 0.094 seconds quicker than Tsunoda, both though eliminated in the second qualifying session, with only the top 10 going through to the final qualifying session, and both Lawson and Tsunoda later promoted a spot following a penalty to Carlos Sainz. So they were initially 14th and 15th. They'll start 13th and 14th. Meantime, Red Bull number one Max Verstappen will start from pole again after setting a new track lap record in qualifying. He flew around the track last night. McLaren's Lando Norris will start alongside Verstappen on the front row. Fellow McLaren driver Oscar Piastri and Ferrari's Charles Leclerc third and fourth. It is a huge pleasure to welcome Formula One royalty to Weekend Sport. David Coulthard, MBE, competed in Formula One from 1994 to 2008 with Williams, then McLaren and latterly Red Bull. He was runner-up in the Formula One World Drivers' Championship in 2001 with McLaren and won 13 Grand Prix across 15 seasons. He is now a highly respected F1 commentator and Red Bull ambassador, and he joins us now. David, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Weekend Sport here across New Zealand. Can we start with Max Verstappen and that incredible qualifying lap yesterday? What a genius. How does he go so fast?
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, I'm not actually in Suzuka this weekend as I only attend 16 of the Grand Prix. So I'm a good old-fashioned fan this weekend, just watching it on the television. And I just, you know, that is why I love Formula One. That is what I loved when I was a kid growing up, you know, seeing your favorite driver or seeing someone just do something remarkable and really special. And there's no question that was, you know, why Max is a generational talent. That car is clearly quick, otherwise it couldn't be on pole, but he's certainly had to work his magic behind the wheel to deliver the lap.
Put us in the seat, David, with him if you can. What is it that he does so well?
I think his senses are on such a high level that he feels the car moving before mere mortals would realise. And of course, all Formula One drivers are good. They're all extreme talents. But in any elite sport, you're looking for the exceptional talents. And whether it's football, whether it's, you know, tennis, whether it's Formula One, there's always two or three guys at any given time that do things and you go, I don't know how they did that. And the truth is, they probably don't know how they did it. It's just so innate in their psyche, their ability to feel adhesion. He's clearly got a very, very sensitive seat of his pants and fingertips on the steering wheel.
What a great way of describing it. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, 2 and 3. Does McLaren seem significantly quicker? We know Verstappen, you know, in any car probably drives it fast, but does McLaren seem significantly quicker to you?
Yeah, I think the way McLaren are able to top the times pretty much in every session shows that is the car, that is the sort of car for the varying conditions that we've seen over the first 3 Grand Prix. Whether it remains the car, of course, it depends on the development profile that McLaren are able to stay on. That's what brought them into contention last year, that they found correlation between their upgrades in virtual world that enabled them to build them, put them on the car, and it delivered lap time in the real world. And that's, you know, without getting overly techie, that is forever the challenge for these Formula One teams, because, you know, you can't just sort of put the regulations into an AI design tool. Otherwise, they'd all pop out the same and they'd all be as quick as each other. You know, there's different opinions as to how to exploit those regulations. There's different ways of laying up the carbon fiber, which allows it to flex and bend and all of that sort of good stuff that hardcore fans will be following. But right now, McLaren is the car. Red Bull clearly in the hands of Max can be as quick as them, and today I think that's one of those moments where remember where you were when you saw Max get pole position in Suzuka.
Well, Liam Lawson, of course, our man. I know you've been following with interest, as we have, what's been happening over the first 2 or 3 Grand Prix. He got out of Q1, qualified 14th on the grid. How much confidence will he take from that?
Yeah, it was an important weekend for him to rebuild after what was a very, very difficult first two Grand Prix. And he won't be happy, because you're only happy when you're, a little bit ahead of your teammate. That is your benchmark at the end of the day. But he will be, let's say, a little bit of pressure has been released. He's back in an environment. He knows the team well. They've done a great effort to welcome him home, welcome him back into that team. And of course, he'll be validated in his difficulties in the first two races by going, well, look, Yuki was further up the grid in this car and he's now behind me. So there'll be a lot of those sort of box ticking exercises. But when you take away that emotion, when you take away that, what sort of parenting desire to put your arm around the shoulders of these guys, this is Formula One. And when you take away all the opinion and you take away all the emotion, you're left with data. And that data is called a stopwatch. And that stopwatch doesn't lie. So I think Liam can feel good. I think this is a great building block for him going forward. Big opportunity again tomorrow to see if he can bring the car home in the points. I believe in Liam. I think he's a talent. I think he, just didn't quite get himself up to speed quickly enough within the Red Bull scenario, but this is his opportunity to rebuild.
What about Yuki Tsunoda, David? He's qualified 15th. That car is clearly very difficult to drive. Liam had trouble in it. Yuki, 15th today. How do you predict he will go in that car?
Yeah, he will be disappointed, of course, because he was within a few tenths of Max through the clean free practices, which I think that's all that's really expected. If anyone is matching Max consistently, you found the next super talent, haven't you? Whether you're a Max Verstappen fan or not, this isn't about putting your favourite cap on. This is just about dealing with the facts. Max is a generational talent, and for Yuki or any of Max's teammates, it's about being within a few tenths. And if you can be within a few tenths, then you're doing a great job. The difficulty, of course, that anyone in that car right now is having, Formula One is so incredibly close. If you're half a second or more away, you're outside the top 10. You're therefore in a difficult situation to make strategy work, to find points in the Grand Prix itself.
I looked at your career, David. Third in your first full season with Williams Renault in 95, 8 podiums, including your maiden Grand Prix win in Portugal. How did you come to terms with the car so quickly?
Boy, I was doing a filming for F1 TV recently called Memory Box, and they were taking me through that sort of 94, the tragedy of Senna and Ratzenberger sharing the car with Nigel Mansell. 95, as you mentioned, my first full season. I was a puppy and I peed on the carpet left, right and centre. I made so many mistakes. It's embarrassing looking back. What saved me was I had underlying pace in that I could drive the car quickly, and I felt comfortable within the Williams team because I'd been the test driver for a few years. But if we had the gift to be able to do it all again, I would need to grow up. I would need to get my brain into a space where you are a full professional rather than just wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and just being reactive. So the way I always feel I've been dealing with pressure is when you feel you're losing control of a situation. Pressure is not other people's expectations. And I say that when I do my commentary, when people would ask, oh God, the driver's under so much pressure. And I go, well, is he? Does he feel he's not in control? Does he feel his destiny is out of his hands? If the answer is yes, then yeah, I suspect he does feel pressure. But if he feels, yep, this is my moment, let me go and show what I can do, then irrespective of what the outside world thinks, if that is the driver's mindset, I don't think they feel pressure, because we've been doing this since we were kids. None of these guys just arrived last week and decided, hey, I'm going to be a Grand Prix driver. They have been through a roller coaster of, winning, losing, mistakes, arguments, all of those things since they were kids.
So did it take any time at all for you to feel comfortable in the car? Did you ever feel comfortable in a machine like that, or is that just not possible?
I understand the question in terms of how maybe people would perceive comfort. A Grand Prix car is not a comfortable place. It starts with it's not comfortable to sit in, it's not comfortable to drive, and when the car is trying to spit you into the wall, it's not a comfortable feeling. My experience is fast cars are difficult to drive. And that penny drops when I went from the 95 Williams, which was a Grand Prix winning car, to the 95 McLaren, which had been a really average car during that season. I tested it at the end of the 95 season and prior to me joining McLaren in 96. And I was really worried because I thought, this car's like 2 seconds slower. This is going to be frightening to drive. And I went out and it was like a limousine. And the reason it was like a limousine, it didn't have the downforce. It didn't have the grip to take the tyres to the limit of their adhesion. And, the same compound and the same construction of tyres on the Williams was going 2 seconds quicker. So you can imagine they had a lot more load going through them, a lot more energy going through them. They were a lot more taken to the limit of what those tyres could actually handle. So fast cars are difficult and uncomfortable. Slow cars, the drivers always think, yeah, give me a quick car and I'll show you what I can do. Well, give them a quick car. Sometimes they go, oh, this is a bit difficult to drive. Why is it not easier? So if you just think about it, I've never climbed Everest, but I imagine getting to the top of Everest must be pretty uncomfortable. Well, my old teammate Mark Webber says being in Formula One at the highest level is like getting to the top of Everest and then taking the oxygen mask off.
I love that. We had Mark on the show a couple of weeks ago and he was as articulate as you are. You saw the checkered flag 13 times. What is that like?
It's a wonderful feeling of achievement. And I, again, having gone down the old memory box filming last week, I remember I'd see the checkered flag. I would keep my foot absolutely nailed until I was well across the line. I would then have to ask the team, can you confirm I won the race? Because I always had this fear that I was in some kind of dream. And, I've seen drivers lose races by lifting off and celebrating before the checkered flag and things like that. You see it in running races, and I never wanted to be one of those guys. So, yeah, it seems what I did, 240-odd Grand Prix and only won 13 of them. The reality is, Lewis Hamilton, who's the most winning driver in the history of our sport, he's only won 20-odd% of the races he's entered. We do a lot of losing. It is a horrible statistic if you were a boxer or if you were a fund manager. Imagine if you were only winning 20-odd% of the time in those businesses. But that's just the nature of our sport. It's a privilege, though, to be in Formula One, to work at that level with the incredible men and women that design and build these cars, and to then steer it on their behalf to the checkered flag is a wonderful feeling of achievement.
Amazing. Can we just circle back to Liam to finish, David? I mean, we love him, but we're biased, of course. He's one of ours. You alluded to it before when you said you do see promising things in his future. Can you maybe just expand on that? How do you rate him as a driver? What do you predict for Liam Lawson?
Well, I hope very much that this little hiccup is kind of what we saw with Alex Albon, where Alex had a tricky year, relatively young at the time, not a lot of experience, and kind of struggled to pull the whole season together. And again, like my 95 season, although I finished third, there was a much bigger gap in the performance of the cars in those days. So I was in a very privileged position. Formula One today is so close that these guys have to be at a higher level. They are at a higher level. The next generation is always better. So, let's start with the fact that Liam is a much better race driver than I ever was. But he races in a time which is much, much more competitive. He's got to Formula One on merit, on talent. He's growing up in the public eye because no matter how mature and how worldly he thinks he is, stick him in 5 years in the same situation, he's just going to be more mature. You can't stick an old head on young shoulders, much as we would have loved that. And he has got to grow up in the public eye whilst continuing to follow his dream of becoming a Formula One world champion. I believe all of those things that brought him to Formula One are still there. He's got over the first hurdle, which every driver has hurdles in their life, and he's now can take a breath and go and show that he can bring points home for Racing Bulls. His next goal has to be team leader, so he's got to get in front of Hadja. And if he does that, he's back on track. If he's consistently a little bit behind Hadja for whatever reason, whatever excuses anyone wants to pull out, the stopwatch tells us the running order, then he's got to have tried absolutely everything to overcome that. And only when he's tried absolutely everything can he accept his place in this world, which if he finishes up as merely one of the very talented race drivers that are lucky enough to be in Formula One, that's still a pretty good place to be, and New Zealand can be proud. But I still believe there's enough promise there for him to work this out and make his way back to a winning situation.
David, it's been such a pleasure and an education having you join us across New Zealand. Thanks so much for lending us your expertise. We, like you, will watch Liam's progress with interest. Again, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. David Coulthard, MBE. What a superb insight into one of the toughest sports on the planet. You've heard from David Coulthard. Let's get your thoughts now on anything you picked up there, 0800 80 10 80, or on the Japanese Grand Prix, any qualifying or practice that you saw yesterday. 0800 80 10 80. Does yesterday begin the vindication for Liam Lawson? He couldn't drive the Red Bull car fast enough and was dropped down after just 2 races. Yuki Tsunoda wasn't any better in it yesterday. Liam was faster than him in a supposedly slower car, just as Tsunoda had been faster than Lawson in the first 2 Grand Prix in a supposedly slower car. Yes, it's only qualifying, so let's just wait and see what happens in the race itself. But I feel like Liam Lawson yesterday proved a small point at the first time of asking. On the evidence of yesterday, Yuki Tsunoda is not a better driver than Liam Lawson. Is that how it feels to you? Or do we need a greater body of work? And when the race starts around 5 o'clock this afternoon, what are you expecting from Liam Lawson? What are you expecting from Yuki Tsunoda? And might what has happened here actually turn out to be a good thing for Liam Lawson? Being number 2 seat in Red Bull has often been described as a poison chalice and other words to that effect. You're in charge of driving a vehicle that is set up for one of the greatest drivers ever to get inside a Formula One car. And you're expected to stay within cooey of them, which nobody has been able to do. Read a really interesting piece this morning from Sergio Perez, who was number 2 seat to Verstappen for 4 years. And he said that the team has struggled to solve a recurring issue, the second seat. A string of talented drivers from Pierre Gasly to Alex Albon have cycled through without finding any stability alongside Max Verstappen. So Red Bull haven't solved that. They've got, a generational talent, an absolutely superb driver in Max Verstappen. But by the looks of it, they'll never get close to that Constructors' Championship again because they can't get a second seat who drives as fast. 1229 0800 80 10 80 is our number. 9292 on text. We'll take some calls when we come back. Glenn, please hold there with you right after this on Weekend Sport.
The biggest names in sport are on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and TJ Gardner-Holmes, New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
1232 0800 80 10 80 talking Formula One and Liam Lawson qualifying ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. I know it's only a battle within a battle, but it certainly has relevance given what we've seen over the last week or so. Glenn, g'day.
G'day, Piney. Hey, I think if we can get through the first lap today without there being a Lawson FU sandwich between Tsunoda and Alonso, it'll be a great race to see him and where he actually stacks up. It's going to be interesting for sure.
What's your gut on it, Glenn, in terms of, I hope we avoid that as well. I hope that he stays in the race the whole time. Look, what would be successful for him today? Getting in the top 10, picking up some points for Racing Bulls?
I would like to think getting in that top 10. I think if there is a little bit of moisture out there, it's going to help him a lot. But I think finishing the race ahead of where he started is really just got to be that first thing that he needs to aim for. maybe leveraging those pit strategies a little bit better than they have in the past. But, you think about this year, how many times has he actually started on pit straight?
Yeah, I don't think he has.
Versus Alonso.
Yeah, I don't think he has he?
He's going to be coming into this. No, he's going to be coming into this. This is his first actual proper race start. And then if we think about Tsunoda, FP1, 2 and 3, he was within 1 or 2 tenths of Max, virtually every single one of those sessions. And while he finished behind Liam in the lap that mattered, it is a single flying lap where he probably let himself down in regards to the tyre prep leading into that. So is that actually a real reflection of where he stacks up as the number 2 driver in Red Bull? It broke my heart to see that happen to Liam, but I'm also in that camp where I didn't want to see it happen, but I think it may be the better thing for him long term, where he can prove himself as that real solid driver in a Racing Bulls car that's easier to drive, that he can get ahead of Hadjar on a consistent basis. His future might not be with Red Bull, but he could have a great career in any one of those other teams, like Albon, like Gasly.
Look, I mean, it being in one of the 20 seats straight away, I know he's aiming higher than that, but you're so right, Glenn. He could well have a future outside of the Red Bull operation. I don't think we're ever going to get the chance to see it, because I can't see a time when Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson are actually in the same car, either with Red Bull or Racing Bulls. But it's the only way really to find out who's the better driver across a number of races, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, even if Tsunoda's with Red Bull next year, it's up for debate. There's the whole he's only a Honda driver piece that's going around. But hey, if Tsunoda can, I won't say match, but stay within 2 or 3 tenths, get that Constructors' Championship fight really going up the top there, and they're in the top 1 or 2 positions, and Ferrari and McLaren and Mercedes are fighting with them as well, rather than a distant third, then, Tsunoda might be that long-term number 2 driver, no matter what money Honda really throws behind him.
Yeah. Well, I just had a quick check. Perez was in that seat for 4 years. I didn't think it was that long. So he actually lasted.
2 good years.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, but he lasted longer than I think a lot of people, in hindsight anyway, would think that he would have, given all the problems they had last year and have had at the start of this year. Interesting. Yeah. His comments saying that they've never solved the number 2 seat there.
Yeah, but I think Liam has got a massive future, but I think David Coulthard really nailed it when he talked about the maturity thing. When you think about Yuki Tsunoda 2 or 3 years ago, real hothead, losing his cool, blaming things that were, throwing other things under the bus, not taking accountability for the car, all of those things that comes with a lack of maturity, where you're probably a little bit fearful, a little bit trying to protect your seat, so to speak. And then I look at Liam. He's been so excited about the opportunity. He's been really open about the emotional roller coaster that he's been on. His media training is probably lacking a little, and that comes through massively around that maturity thing. Time in the seat, time in Formula One, the ability to give those succinct answers, not filled with emotion or the ums and the ahs that he tends to throw in there, which I know, who's going to be worried about all the ums and the ahs if you're at the top of your career and in the pinnacle of sport. But it's just another little indication of how comfortable you are in that environment. And the more he has to think and the more he does the ums and the ahs, I think there is going to be that perception that he is still that rookie mentality and he's not quite there yet.
Great observation, Glenn. All right, pick us his finishing position then, Liam, tonight. I know this is fraught with difficulty, this question, but what do you reckon?
if he has a good start, and I would like to think that he'll have a good start and get ahead of Alonso, I think he'll pick up another couple of places and he'll be 11th or 12th.
Good man, Glenn. I love chatting to you, mate. Please call back anytime we're talking F1. I've enjoyed chatting to you. Thanks, mate. 0800 80 10 80 9292 on text. Here's Liam Lawson after his qualifying yesterday.
It was okay. I think a disappointing end, to be honest. I think we had a competitive car yesterday, had a good sort of Q1, and we were trying to chase a balance through quali, and it got to a point in Q2 where, to be honest, we couldn't really tune it much more, and unfortunately we just sort of hit a wall a bit and struggled in that run too. Honestly, it felt like a good lap. So it's something we'll obviously review, but yeah, that's it.
What's your thinking for the race tomorrow? There might be some rain.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that'll change everything really, but it allows opportunity for us to hopefully move forward. But yeah, around this place, I mean, we've seen in the past, it's quite eventful. The new surface will be quite different as well to drive in the rain. It'll probably hold a bit more water, but from where I'm starting, I wouldn't mind a bit of rain.
There you go, Liam Lawson. Yeah, easier to move up, I guess, when it's raining, although it was torrential rain in Melbourne, which didn't help, of course. Interesting to go back to what David Coulthard said and what Glenn alluded to about how you need time in the seat. You need time. That was the one thing he wasn't given. Certainly not the Red Bull team anyway, but he has been given time now in the Racing Bulls car. So as he builds his experience, you know, I feel like in hindsight, when he looks back, maybe it's got a silver lining. Maybe I was going to say the best thing that could have happened. Maybe it's not all bad. 19 away from 1. A couple on text here. I think there's too much emphasis on the Yuki v Liam discussion, says Ian. Liam's made F1. Enjoy it. His only job this season is to accumulate points and end the season as the number 1 Racing Bulls driver. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. Richie says, Jason, Yuki has never, ever been a better driver than Liam. From day one. Liam spanked him every step of the way. We'll see more of the same. Let's hope so, Richie. Let's hope so. And Simon says, great interview with David Coulthard. What a legend. Liam alongside Yuki on the grid. From lights out until after turn 1, I will not be breathing. So excited for the race. Go, Liam. Good on you, Simon. Great to hear from you, mate. 19 to 1. We're back with more of your calls after this. Mark with you next here on News Talk ZB.
Don't get caught offside. Call 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sports with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner Homes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB 16 to 1. Michael asks, question. What happens if Liam Lawson is ahead of Tsunoda by more than a couple of cars? Would Red Bull pull rank on Racing Bulls and send Lawson into the pits for a, in inverted commas, mechanical issue to save face? I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not sure they can do it, can they? Red Bull and Racing Bulls are I get what you're saying, Michael. They're autonomous of one another, aren't they? I'm not sure that Red Bull can pull rank over Racing Bulls, although nothing would surprise me in the world of Formula One. G'day, Mark.
Hey, Piney. Yeah, I hope it does rain, because then they won't have those fires of the grass that plagued the last.
I saw that.
It's just ridiculous.
How on earth have they not dampened down that grass?
I don't know, and it just blows your mind that it's something, a sporting event that's watched by so many people, and something raced and practiced stopped by grass burning, you know. Yeah, yesterday, I mean, there was the obviously the Liam Lawson-Tsunoda battle, but I mean, Verstappen just dominated. I think he just blew everyone away. He blew the commentators away. I think he blew the other drivers away, you know. Norris was standing up there on the going, oh, they just couldn't believe how he drove that car to pole position, and it was just incredible to watch. And the distance between him and the rest of the drivers is just, you know, it's quite a chasm. I think the rest of the drivers in F1 are all relatively similar, but, you know, he just has that ability to be able to obviously drive a bit of a dog of a car to pole position. I mean, it's quite miraculous to me watching it. And I guess Red Bull aren't, like I think I said last week, they're not really that concerned with the second driver. I think their focus is they know they've got to keep Max Verstappen at Red Bull, because if he leaves, they're screwed. You know what I mean? And I think going into next year, there's obviously going to be some huge changes in drivers and cars. I think Liam just has to concentrate on going out there, getting the experience and making himself marketable. Because, who knows what Red Bull will do? They might get rid of him, at the end of the year and promote a younger driver through. You don't know, but he's got to make himself and get to the point where he's a reliable, consistent driver, performing above what would they expect, getting in the points and getting their drive for next year. That's going to be his focus. And I think he needs to forget all the drama that Red Bull have put him through in Sonoda, because he's just got to focus on his career, because there's a lot of drivers, who aren't in Formula One and they're coming through all the time he's competing for that spot next year.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. And look, it's Verstappen plus one. That's what it is. You're so right, Mark. And look, he's been there since 2016. I think he came into the team, so it's a long time at the same in the same team. But he is absolutely magnificent. I've heard sort of rumour here and there that he might be moving away from Red Bull. I'm not sure what the state of his contract is and that sort of thing. But it's the team is built around him. And as Sergio Perez said in the interview I'd read with him this morning, it's not the easiest place to be. Everybody wants to be in one of those seats, but number 2 at Red Bull's a pretty challenging place by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say quickly on the Super Rugby last night, the Blues are quite lucky to have Beauden Barrett, I think, because I think without him, that team is sort of rudderless, really. And it's quite interesting, the form this year. And I think the Fijian Drua, to me, which team is people haven't sort of commented, but they've been quite disappointing this year after last year.
They have.
I thought they'd really kick on. I thought they'd really kick on this year, and they've lost that home advantage. The Crusaders pretty much whipped them yesterday, and I think they're quite a disappointing, along with the Blues, probably the 2 most disappointing teams this year. Yeah,
agree, Mark. Good to chat, mate. We look forward to seeing how Liam Lawson goes a bit later on. Here is Max Verstappen after his qualifying lap yesterday, which was a track record.
Very happy. The whole weekend for us has been quite a struggle. We kept on changing the car actually quite a lot, and even in qualifying, it just took a long time to still feel quite satisfied with the car. The final run was a bit better, but I think it was also just knowing your limitations and trying to adapt to it and try to make the best of it. So, the last lap was very committed. No clear, obvious mistakes, which I think helps to put the lap in. And, of course, very happy for everyone. The team is working flat out and, they're really giving it everything, to understand the car better. So for us, this is a great result.
That's Max Verstappen, very understated as per usual. Gary asks, can you please advise when the race will officially start tonight? 5 o'clock, there or thereabouts. It's one of those where they sort of aim for 5 o'clock, I think, Gary. So, in and around 5 o'clock is race start. You can bet at the TAB, I've been told by a number of people, on a specific bet for Liam Lawson to finish higher than Yuki Tsunoda. Andy was checking out the odds before. What was the latest odds? Was Liam favourite he was $2.30, not favourite to finish ahead. So $1.55 for Yuki and $2 what? 2.30. So it's almost like a head-to-head who finishes first. I want to see Liam succeed, says this one, but he was definitely lucky to get into Q2. It was only a few tenths of a second ahead of the next driver. Then in Q2, it was Yuki having a poor lap rather than Liam's performance that put him in front. His main competition is really now Hadjar, and Hadjar's been significantly outperforming him in qualifying. Still early days, but Liam needs to find a bit more pace. Hello, Lee.
Hi there. I think people don't realise that Verstappen winning and becoming world champion is great, but there's a massive difference where you end up in the Constructors' Championship. First prize is 161 million, next down 151, next down 140 million, next one 130 million. So between fourth and first is $40 million. So they are really, really got to concentrate on getting a number 2 driver to get them up to that to win the championship.
How come they haven't been able to, Lee? Is it just the balancing act of having a genius but also trying to find a partial genius?
I think that's where it's at. But they've been playing around with Tsunoda's car to try and give him a car he wants to drive. usually what happens when if Verstappen crashed the car and he's in line for the World Championship, they'd put it straight in the second car, so it doesn't help him if it's set up totally different. But no, the Constructors' Championship is what they're after, because it's all pecking order in the pit straight. It's boasting orders and all that sort of thing, and it's a lot of money between first and fourth.
I just can't, Lee. I just can't see how they can do it. I just don't see how they can beat McLaren with the way the landscape is at the moment.
Not this year. Next year, new car, new engine. So they're going to have to really and they're missing that guy Newey. But hopefully they've got some thoughts sorted out about who they're going to get to design their car for next year, because it's all on next year with all the big changes, massive changes. Yeah.
So does Verstappen definitely stay at Red Bull next year? Is that your understanding?
He's contracted to, but as in the EPL, you know what happens there.
I do. Yeah, contracts can be broken on occasion. Good stuff, Lee. Good insight. Thanks indeed. 8 away from 1. News Talk ZB.
The scoop from the track, field and the court on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine. News Talk ZB.
4.5 to 1. So Liam Lawson will start 13th on the grid. Yuki Tsunoda 14th. Here's Yuki Tsunoda after qualifying yesterday.
I think the warm-up was didn't go as I wanted. I felt, still learning. The warm-up, how I ended up was I thought it was okay. I knew it's going to maybe a little bit compromised, but the penalty was pretty big. Shame that I didn't able to extract performance from the car. I think they're looking good from Q1 and everything, so just felt like overall worse and worse throughout. So very shame.
Yeah, downcast Yuki Tsunoda after qualifying yesterday. So 5 o'clock this afternoon or thereabouts is when it's lights out, as they say, at the Japanese Grand Prix. And away they'll go. Another fascinating storyline set to be written in the Formula One season, and we're only into race 3. 3.5 away from 1. After the 1 o'clock news, going to shift our attention to cricket and the depth that is being built in New Zealand cricket. A bunch of players now playing international cricket under the age of 30. Paul Wiseman on that after 1.
The only place to discuss the biggest sports issues on and off the field. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
Hello there, this is Weekend Sport on Sunday, 1 I'm Jason Pine. Andy McDonald through the glass. We're here till 3. Cricket shortly, and the depth we're building in our international sides. Red and white ball. Paul Wiseman on the show, former talent identification manager with New Zealand Cricket, still involved as a high-performance coach. What does he make of the depth that is building, and is there more to come? And how do you know if a guy can make the step up from domestic cricket to international cricket? James McConey this hour as well. Don't forget, don't worry. I know there was some worry that I haven't got to the Super Rugby yet, and I think there was a suggestion that the Hurricanes' loss to the Blues might be the reason for that. Not at all. No, I'm not avoiding Super Rugby at all. I was very impressed with Moana Pacifica, I have to say. When I left here yesterday, it would have been half-time probably. They were 21-7 down when I left the building yesterday around 3 o'clock. I had to get to the football, so I was sort of absorbed in that. And then I checked the score later and I thought, what's going on here? So I had a bit of a look back at the game and was most impressed, as I'm sure you were, with Moana Pacifica's second half performance. Jonathan Domatina, their halfback, is with us after 2 o'clock. A couple of final texts to mop up on Formula One before we move. You heard from Glenn, if you were listening last hour, one of our talkback callers. He knew a lot, and he's just sent in a text. Glenn here again, Piney, just a couple of additional points. If there isn't a lot of rain ahead of the race, there could be some big upsets and gains with the mid to lower tier teams making massive gains. The nothing to lose strategy of starting on sorts for quick positional gains. An early stop to mediums and then use of the red flags for grass fires for swapping tyres in the pits. Still allowed under the existing regulations. So the early compulsory stop could allow for better tyres and strategic positional gains if other teams still have to make compulsory stops when not under red or yellow flag conditions. And, says Glenn, my dream start for Liam Tsunoda tactically chooses hard tyres for a longer first stint. Liam on mediums so he can brake later into the turn and baits Tsunoda into braking way too late. lets him scream through on the inside of turn 1 and take out Alonso after he locks up. Liam then just squeezes underneath the chaos and elbows out the rest of the race. Glenn, I don't mind it. Thanks for your insight. And from Graham, Lawson 8th, Tsunoda 12th. Thanks, Graham. Good to have your prediction there. And finally from Rod, I hope that Liam slaps his detractors down a notch with a scintillating performance. He can turn it on, all things being equal, and a healthy dose of good luck is useful too. The Japanese race is terribly important to nailing his boots to the driver's title. Thank you, Rod. And thank you for all your calls and correspondence on Formula One this afternoon. To cricket we go, though, at 1:10. The Black Caps starting to build some next-generation depth. I made the point on the show yesterday that it is now possible, if you wanted to name a Black Caps team with white ball international experience, all under the age of 30. And this is the team I came up with: Reece Mariu, Finn Allen, Tim Robinson, Rachin Ravindra, Glenn Phillips, Muhammad Abbas, Mitch Hay, Nathan Smith, Zach Folkes, Ben Sears and Will O'Rourke. Or, if you wanted a spin option, Addy Ashok. Former New Zealand off-spinner Paul Wiseman was also former New Zealand Cricket Talent Identification Manager and still heavily involved in New Zealand Cricket's high-performance program as a coach. He joins us now. Paul, thanks for taking the time. Do you feel like we are building some quite significant international depth now?
Yeah, without doubt we are. It's great. Obviously, the recent series against Pakistan was really highlighted that. I think there's probably 9 or 10 players that would normally be in that side. Maybe three that would always be in that team. Play against Pakistan in this series and to win it as comfortably as we did says a lot for the depth that's coming through.
Is international white ball cricket a good breeding ground for international red ball cricketers?
Good question. Look, there's more opportunities, aren't there? I suppose there's more games played of white ball cricket, so there's opportunities there. I think the opportunities are coming in a funny way with all the franchise cricket going on. It's meaning that we're having series like this where you've got 9 players away playing IPL, and so that naturally has a knock-on effect, and it means that players that perhaps in previous years they wouldn't have got the opportunity they're getting, and they're coming in and they look right at home, which is the exciting thing. So it means that our domestic cricket is doing a good job. The coaches within that are doing a good job, and the programs that we're putting around what we believe are our high potential players, are starting to pay off.
Yeah, I guess like any international experience, I know white and red ball cricket very different, but just being inside the Black Caps environment for a young player, who has aspirations to play Test cricket, surely just being in and around the environment would be beneficial for them.
Oh, 100%. I think every player you talk to that goes into that Black Caps environment just always comment about how chilled out it is, how easy it is, how welcome they're made to feel. It's a tough game as it is it's a tough enough game as it is at the international level without feeling welcome and feeling at ease when you come in, and they all know. They play domestically with these guys as well, but it's a real conscious effort that the Black Caps support staff and players put in there. It probably wasn't always that way. It used to be you'd sort of sink or swim a little bit, but it's certainly a lot more encouraging these days, which is fantastic.
Do you think that's intentional?
Oh, 100% it is, yeah. And that's players and support staff all bought into that because they know if people come in and feel at ease, they've got a better chance of performing out there with their teammates. So, 100% works, which is brilliant.
If you're looking at a young player who's playing domestic cricket and trying to assess whether they could make the jump from domestic cricket to international cricket, what are the main factors that you would consider?
Well, the eye test is one for a start. You look at a player, the gut feel thing, that's there if you've been in the game long enough. You see those sorts of things. With batters, we look at players that can play quality spin and pace because that's tends to be what you face at the top level. There's not so much of the medium pace stuff that we face a lot of, and a lot of our players grow up facing naturally, because at school cricket that's what you get. You don't get the top quality spinners and pace bowlers. So we want to have a look at guys that we believe have the ability to do that, and then we try and put them in positions for them to learn those. So, we've had recent tours to Chennai. We've taken batters over there to work on playing spin bowling. We've got A tours coming up, one in May to Bangladesh and then one in South Africa, two completely different conditions. And so our batters are going to be tested in different ways. And then obviously with the pace bowlers, pace is something you can't really coach. You can enhance it, but they've kind of got it or they haven't. Can they move the ball if they haven't got extreme pace? Have they got height? Those sorts of things. And spinners, can that first leg, the thing you look for is what can they do with the ball, whether it's in the air or off the pitch. And I think overall, one of the couple of the key contributing factors that we look at with talent is a love for the game and a work ethic, and that competitive nature. So those three things, coupled with the skills that you see, are pretty crucial in forming a player that we believe can play at the highest level.
That eye test thing is a really interesting one for me, especially with cricket, which is such a complex game. As you say, you look at a player, you think, man, he can bat, or gee, what a good bowler he is. But you don't really know what's going on inside their head, do you, until you get them inside an environment? Is it more hit than miss? Are there many who come in and you've completely misread it?
Oh, there's a few. We have an under-19 program, which has a World Cup every 2 years. And 80% of the players that go away on that World Cup will play domestic cricket, and pretty regularly, and probably 30% of that will play for the Black Caps. We had one freakish year, which I think is, looking back on it now, has probably set us in such good stead. Back in 2019, under-19 World Cup, and the tournament leading into that, the national tournament, we had 16 Black Caps come out of that 1 year. Like I said before, there's normally around 3, but we had 16, and so that's the Henrys and the Lathams and the Sodis and Satners and all those sort of guys. So there's about 16 came out of that group, which meant that there was a bit of a logjam for those underneath. So now what's happening is we're getting players coming in that have actually had a number of years of hard domestic cricket under their belt, so when they do come in, they're ready and they're flying from ball one, and we've had probably the last 5-6 years of that. Virtually every player that's come in has succeeded pretty early on, which is awesome. And it means that we're not just throwing guys in. Perhaps we did that a little bit in the past. If you can bowl 140, then you're in. Rather than bowl 140, you've also got to take a bunch of 5-wicket bags of domestic cricket before you get there, because the standard or the level of the depth of players up there is keeping you out. So it's had that knock-on effect, and I think it's been a really good thing for us. But also just recently we've managed to get a couple of young guys in, like the likes of Reece Mariu and Eddie Ashok and Mohamed Abbas. So that's exciting too.
Indeed. How do you make sure, Paul, that you don't miss anybody? If there's a guy getting Potter runs up in Kaitaia or taking a bunch of wickets down in Gore, how do you make sure no one slips through the cracks?
We've got a pretty good network out there with our MAs. We work very closely with them. They're basically our high performance. We bring in at the POIs to certain camps and A's and our men's development group and 19s and so forth. But our MAs are the ones that do the bulk of the work with these guys, and they have networks within their MA that feed information through. We probably need to get more eyes on players in around the Auckland area. We're probably a little bit limited there in terms of numbers, and that's just a cost thing. Everyone has their own pathway manager in each MA, but Auckland, as you know, is population-wise is so much bigger than the rest of the country. And it's such an exciting population with East Asian and South African and all of that sort of thing. So I'm sure there are some players that get to a level that maybe don't get seen, but the ones with the real skill, I think, will still come through our program, just because they're the ones that have that work ethic we talked about, that drive, that inner drive to get better, they will find a way. That's not ideal. We need to get that right, but I'd say 98% of players we're not missing.
Do you also keep an eye on secondary school cricket?
We do. We do that through those pathway managers that have networks into schools and clubs. Again, I think Auckland's an area that we can be a lot better at, but we need a bigger system, a bigger network up there. I think the rest of the country's pretty good. I think those players will come through and start shining through. I suppose the ones that you may miss along the way would be the ones that show that real talent, but they're very good at other sport as well, and they don't get eyes on them early. And we have a lot of our best players, our black caps and things, were very good at other sports as well. So we do have that battle with other sports, but it's been our philosophy with New Zealand cricket is that we encourage all our cricketers to play as much or as many other sports as they possibly can until they have to make a decision either way. Because we believe at the end of that, if they've been playing rugby or basketball or whatever sport, they've been hockey or whatever it might be, that we will have a better athlete if they come and play cricket. And vice versa, if they don't choose us and they go to rugby or one of those other sports, that sport will have a better athlete if they've been playing cricket as well. So, we might miss the odd one, but at the end of the day, it's usually a gut feel thing with players, and they'll have one preference one way or the other.
Yeah, that balance is better philosophy has proven to be extremely effective. Of course, for these young players to get opportunities in the international environment, Paul, somebody has to make room for them. So how do you know when it's the right time to move on from an established, experienced player?
Such a tough one, and it's very, very individual, I think. I think the player and I think the people that watch get pretty noisy. Or those that watch the game, the crowd and the public, they start talking about things as well, and that's been going on for a while. But I think what New Zealand cricket's done pretty well, and they're never easy conversations. They have those conversations with a lot of these players quite a long way out about when they'd like to exit, how they would like to exit, those sorts of things. So those sorts of conversations definitely do go on in the background. They're not easy ones, and some players feel they can go on forever, and which is wonderful, and that's probably some of the characteristics that have gotten as far as they have. But as you know, everyone comes to that point where either their love for it is starting to diminish, or their performance is starting to drop, and then you've got young guys waiting in the wings that are starting to shoot the lights out in the levels below. So it's a natural thing, and in sport it's not an easy thing, but I think New Zealand cricket by and large do it reasonably well.
Just to finish, with more and more T20 franchise opportunities popping up everywhere, do you think there might be a generation of cricketers emerge who don't play for New Zealand? They just play franchise cricket, or do they need the domestic grounding first to even catch the eye or to develop the skills to play in those franchise leagues?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope the first thing, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but that first and foremost they want to represent New Zealand. But look, there are players in domestic leagues and in Australia that have got picked up in IPL. And they go straight into that and they earn large amounts of money and do very well, and they don't end up playing for their domestic side. But I think in New Zealand at the moment, playing for New Zealand is certainly the window for them to be seen. There's Finn Allen had that breakout season a few years back for the Firebirds, and he got picked up in the IPL. But I think he still sees New Zealand, playing for New Zealand, as the ultimate, and it's also, if he does well at that level, then his stocks rise again for franchise cricket. And I don't blame anyone for wanting to play franchise cricket. I don't think there'll be too many people in the world that would turn down the sort of numbers that they get paid for it, and it's only a short window in your life that you get to earn it. But I still think the vast majority of players, their first and foremost driver is to play for the Black Caps.
No doubt. All right, so that team I named at the top, Mariu, Alan Robinson, Ravindra Phillips, Abbas Hay, Smith, Folkes, Sears O'Rourke. Do you reckon that team beats the grizzled over 30s in the game of T20?
It's an exciting team, isn't it? I think they'd push them pretty hard. And that is what is so cool, is that all of a sudden, you've got guys looking over their shoulders, quality players looking over their shoulders, and so they're going to keep pushing. And the thing is, these days the guys are so much fitter than what they were when I was playing, that they can play longer. So, I had a look at some numbers a while back. This was a couple of years ago, where the 20 most recent debut players in Test cricket, the average age was 28, and it was 27 at one-day cricket and 26 in T20. It's dropped a little bit in recent times, obviously, with the likes of the Marius and the Abbasses and the Ashocks and the Ravindras coming in. But that tells you that you got to stick at the game for a fair bit before you get your crack, unless you're absolutely exceptional, which, if you are debuting at 26, 27, you've still got another decade of international cricket ahead of you, if that's what you want. So guys are going to have to be patient, they're going to have to push hard, and they're going to have competition, and that's only going to be a good thing for New Zealand cricket.
Absolutely right. Thanks so much for the chat, Paul. Really insightful. I appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
No problem.
Thanks, mate. That's Paul Wiseman, former talent identification manager with New Zealand Cricket, these days high-performance coach. Plenty to unpack there. Be keen to hear your thoughts. 0800 80 10 80 is our number, particularly around the regeneration of a team. I think, I think the most recent example of this was Tim Southee, in that I think the general consensus, particularly around the Test game, was that he continued to be selected for longer than most people thought he should have been. And of course, there was that whole episode of when he became captain and then wasn't guaranteed a place in the team. And that just opened up an entirely different can of worms. So that's the interesting response from Paul Wiseman, is how do you know? And he said, well, it is very individual. It's not like a one-size-fits-all. You reach the age of 35 and that's it, you're gone. A player might be ready to, be moved on when he is 31, and others can go until their late 30s. It's very individual. But the regeneration is necessary, just like anything, any sport, any business. You have to keep on regenerating at the bottom end. That stat at the end was interesting too, wasn't it? That you don't debut on average for the New Zealand Test side until you're 27, 28. So that, though, does suggest a good body of work domestically before you reach the point where you're selected for the Test team. Unfortunately, what's going to happen these days is that by the time a player reaches 27, 28, they may well have had their head turned significantly by T20 cricket and franchise leagues. So are people going to opt out of the Test game? Everyone you talk to in that Test team says, and I presume they're telling the truth, that Test cricket is the pinnacle for them. But you look around the world now and you see the proliferation of T20 leagues, and you think to yourself, is there going to be a generation of cricketers who forsake the black cap? I mean, there's a few examples now, and there's more and more now who are turning down contracts, but they're mainly at the other end of their career. A guy like Kane Williamson or Devon Conway, Jimmy Neesham, saying, hey, I don't want to be contracted because I want to be able to make myself available for franchise cricket. But is that going to happen younger and younger? Are there going to be blokes coming through who, maybe play a season or two of domestic cricket, pick up a gig somewhere, maybe not the IPL, but one of the other leagues, makes a bit of a name for themselves and then becomes hot property around the T20 circuit? I would hate to see it happen, but it's a possibility, isn't it? And as far as the Test team and the one-day team is concerned, look, I was really excited with this team over the last 3 games. You look at it and you say, well, actually, there's guys there, and I think most sports fans know who Kane Williamson is. know who Devon Conway is, Tom Latham, Daryl Mitchell, Tom Blundell, these sorts of guys. But there are fresh faces in this team. It's exciting. Mohamed Abbas, only 21. Could be anything, couldn't he? 0800 80 1080. Let's talk some cricket. 1:30. Back with your calls after this.
The voice of sport on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and TJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
28-2, talking cricket, regeneration of our international sides, etc. Dobbo, g'day, mate.
Hey, you Piney. Boy, this is Pandora's box opened in a sport that no other sport can claim to have 3 professional formats where players can play in all 3 and start to pick and choose. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And back in my day, as it was, and probably a little bit of yours, Dobbo, it was just the red ball stuff that was, that was the main focus. Now, as you say, mate, completely different landscape.
Could you imagine if Will Jordan says, look, I can't play the 3 tests against France because I'm going to go and play for Paris Escargot, but I will be back for the Rugby Championship, because that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah, no, it's a good comparison. It's a good comparison.
And it's just not going to happen in rugby and other sports. But look, there's about 100 issues. The one I just want to bring up is that the fans are shortchanged. And what we're going to see now is I doubt we'll ever see New Zealand's strongest white ball team ever play in New Zealand again at the same time, unless there's an ICC event. And we hosted them, in 2015, and before that, 1992. So from that viewpoint, the fans are going to be shortchanged, and it's bloody sad. But having said that, the players have been given almost free will by New Zealand cricket to pick and choose. It wasn't that long ago, South Africa, 2 summers ago, sent their D team for their test team to New Zealand. And we flogged them 2-0, and Kane Williamson scored 3 centuries out of 4 innings. And was given full test status, with most of the top Pro-Tier players staying at home to play in their T20 league.
Mm.
And then this summer, Kane Williamson goes and joins that T20 league in the Republic and misses games against Sri Lanka. So we're definitely seeing the dog wag the tail here.
Yeah, I think if there'd been red ball cricket after Christmas, he wouldn't have gone. And see, that again is another discussion point here, Dobbo. No international red ball cricket after Christmas.
Yeah, astonishing. It's been a weird summer. And it's like having porridge for breakfast. What have we had? The Pakistanis here, 5, 6 of the last 7 summers?
Mm.
It's just... We've got no pulling power in New Zealand, and neither is Pakistan, so they're using each other just to have bilateral games. But what annoys me is, and good old Jacob Duffy, he's been the T20 number 1 bowler, but probably the world's top 20 bowlers in the IPL right now.
Yeah, I don't think
it's meaningless. It's just absolutely meaningless, these bilateral ones. And what's happened is international cricket, particularly bilateral, is now 3rd tier. You've got World Cups and ICC events first, IPL second, and then playing for your nation in bilaterals 3rd.
Yeah.
So franchise is bigger than flag.
Yeah, and I think the perfect illustration of that, Dobbo, is that Jacob Duffy probably won't play IPL. He's a top T20 bowler in the world by the ICC rankings, but, fair play to him, good bowler, but I doubt he'd play IPL.
Well, I doubt he'd get picked, let's be honest.
Indeed, that's what I mean.
Had all their resources together.
Yeah.
He's not a top choice bowler. He doesn't make our first 11, which just makes an absolute mockery of the world rankings at the moment in the T20 International. But look, my point is, when will New Zealand's top T20 and top ODI team play together in New Zealand again? It won't happen unless there's an ICC event, and we don't get to host many of those.
Yeah, Dobbo, I 100% agree. You're dead right. They won't. There's too many other directions they're being pulled in. Good to chat as always, mate. Thanks for your call. Hey, Ross.
Hey, Piney. The one I feel sorry for, Piney, is Mitch Hay.
Yep.
Like, he's not going to get into a test team as long as Tom's there.
No, but that might not be for that much longer. If you look at, I'm just going to bring it up so I don't get this wrong. Tom Blundell is going to be 35 at his next birthday. Mitch Hay is still 23, 24. Plenty of time for him, Ross.
All right, Tom Blundell.
Tom Blundell's 30. Is going to be 35 in a month.
Is he the test wicketkeeper?
He is, Tom Blundell, yes.
Why do I think it was Latham?
No, it's Tom Blundell. Yeah, it's Tom Blundell.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's kept wicket. Latham keeps in the one-day stuff, but Tom Blundell's your Test keeper, and I think they would be reticent to make Tom Latham keep in Test matches, given he opens the batting, and if he's in the field for 100 overs, crouching down, 600 times or whatever it is, that's not the ideal preparation for opening the batting. So, yeah, I think Mitch Hay's the heir apparent, absolutely, and I think having the experience he's had in the white ball team will stand him in good stead. I think he is absolutely our next Test keeper.
We can only hope.
Ross, I think, no, look, and I think for a while we sort of wondered who it might be, who might be the next wicket keeper coming through in terms of our Red Bull side. And you look around and you see there's Max Chew down at Otago, Cam Fletcher up in Auckland. Tom Blundell's first-class numbers are still pretty good, and in the last Test series against England, he was, I think, our second top run scorer, so he still does a job. I think he's a bit like Tim Southee, actually. He gets a bit of jib when things don't go well. He seems to be a bit of a scapegoat. But I reckon another couple of summers and he might sail off into the sunset and your man Mitch Hay might be in the team.
And one more quick point if you've got time.
Of course.
Why the hell do the bowlers get all the credit when Hadley would have got half his bloody wickets if it wasn't for Smithy?
Yes, well, you've spoken like a true wicketkeeper, Ross. Spoken like a true wicketkeeper. Oh, look, you're right. I mean, Court Smith bowled Hadley was pretty common, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
I think Smithy would probably. I think Smithy would probably say he wouldn't have got half the catches without Richard Hadley. But it probably goes both ways, mate.
Well, we go back to Chatty and all those, though, don't we? So it's a long way back.
It is. Oh, yeah, no, well, those were the days. Those were the days, Ross. Didn't have to worry about T20 franchise cricket then, did we? Good on you, mate. Good to chat. 21 away from 2. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will have our regular catch-up with James McConey. Actually, just before I do, a couple of texts here. Mitch Hay has to be in the Test team to replace Blundell from now on, says this text. So he can have at least a year's experience before the Australia series. His first-class average and batting skill is better than Blundell's. His keeping is better. He has to play now. Look, again, I mean, numbers only tell some of the story, but in the most recent Test series that New Zealand played, which seems an age ago now, but was against England before Christmas, Tom Blundell got 100 at the Basin Reserve and across the series scored 213 runs at an average of 43. So it was pretty handy. I know that that ton in Wellington was... Just trying to remember the circumstances, but, 100's still 100. I get your point, and look, I think we need to be patient. They're aware of Mitch Hay. He's in there now. He'll play, I would imagine, quite a bit of white ball cricket now. Maybe it's time to move on from Tom Latham in the one-day side, although he is the captain, so when Santner's not there. So again, it's that whole thing of when do you move? When do you decide, okay, we need to bring fresh blood in? Yeah, I think Mitch Hay has got his nose in front of the chasing pack, those other guys I mentioned, Fletcher and Chew, by playing very well in this most recent series. I think you see a lot more of him. 20-2. Back in a moment with James McConey.
The big issues on and off the field. Call 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
Just on 16 away from 2, as always, on a Sunday afternoon. Great pleasure to welcome in James McConey to the show. Hello, James.
Hi, Piney. You've had a little weekend in Auckland, have you?
I have, and I know you know that because, can I say, it was an absolute honour to be in the Alternative Commentary Collective commentary booth the other night as you called your Chiefs to another victory.
Yeah, it was great to have you there, Piney. I mean, no pressure. I couldn't work out what your hand gestures were. Were you going up the Chiefs? I'm hoping.
I was. If it wasn't obvious, maybe I need to work on them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, there was fingers involved. I couldn't work it out. But the thing is, the Chiefs. I mean, it was a wet game. It was a horrible game. I think the Chiefs deserved it, but I also thought there was an incredible non-try by Harry McLaughlin-Phillips, the Queensland Reds first 5. And it was so close. And I mean, he partially bobbled the ball when he slid over the goal line, but it felt like it was a try. They should have given that. I mean, you can't come back. I mean, are we going? It's too much of a fine-tooth comb for me. It looked like a great try, but meanwhile, there's lots of other things that they let go in rugby. So what would I know, Piney? In the end, the Chiefs got it done, and Sean Stevenson, 100 games. That sort of sneaked up on me, but hey, what a great servant he's been.
Absolutely, and I just feel like the Chiefs, all of the other New Zealand sides sort of tend to be, I don't know, picking their way through inconsistency. I mean, the Crusaders won in Fiji yesterday for the first time, so they're back up to second, but the Hurricanes losing last night to the Blues, who have been underwhelming. The Highlanders lost again. I think the bright light in all of this, apart from your Chiefs, is Moana Pacifica.
Oh, wow. I know, what a game. And it looked like they were going to get undone by Joseph Sueali'i. So imagine that, the sort of highest profile, probably highest paid Pacifica player on the other team, looking $1 million, or every bit of his $2 million or $4 million Australian dollars. But then what happened is that I think early in the second half, Artie Savea tackled him and sort of drove him back about 7 metres, and then a few minutes later he got the ball and shrugged him off. And I was thinking, okay, that is a welcome to rugby moment, from basically the sort of the big chief on the block, and that is Artie. He leads that team so well, but the style of the tries was incredible. Just champagne rugby on a sunny afternoon in the North Shore. A lot to like about their resolve, and also a prop scoring a hat-trick.
Oh, that was so good. I just loved everything about it, and I now look ahead to next weekend when the Blues welcome Moana Pacifica to Eden Park. I think it's a 4:35 kickoff, so a bit of sunshine hopefully still around, although daylight saving has finished, of course. I reckon there'll be more there supporting Moana Pacifica.
Yeah, this is the problem. The battle for Auckland, especially with bums on seats. I mean, the Warriors are winning it, right? And then the Blues, it's hard to tell with Eden Park how many they get there, but it didn't look good last night against the Hurricanes, and they had some epic battles just recently, last season. The last regular season game last year between the Blues and the Hurricanes was one for all time, wasn't it? And
yeah, it was.
There were test match vibes last night too, but I think Duplessis Kirifi summed it up pretty well when he just said, it's just small moments will decide games. And I think he won a turnover, and then he conceded a turnover attempt. It came down to that kind of stuff, and Bowden slotted his goals.
Talk about the battle for bums on seats, and across town at the home of the Warriors, it was Auckland FC again getting 18,500 there yesterday. I've been to all of their home games. I've been very lucky to get the chance to work at them. It's been a buzz all year. Yesterday was, I think, even bigger in terms of the fizz. If Auckland had happened to win that game, I think that place would have exploded.
I know, and that's the other thing. I mean, if the Wars are winning, then Auckland FC are in second position, aren't they? And it's really hurt the Blues in particular. It was a 1-1 draw in the end, but you could tell when you're watching the highlights, because I missed the game live. Just the energy and the crowd noise, it's just like nothing else I've really seen in New Zealand football, not on a regular basis like that. So they're onto something special there. It was a bizarre muddled game. I will say at the end, their most experienced player, Hiroki Sakai, the Japanese international, missed a pretty good chance that fell to his left foot. Of course, he's a right footer. But I would say that if you're a young footballer out there, or if you've got a young footballer in your family, at least get them to have a decent shot off their weaker foot. You've got to have it for moments like that, Piney.
Look, as that ball came across to him, I remember this so distinctly. I think everybody, it was almost like that moment, before a goal scored, where there's just that split second of silence. Everybody just holds their breath and then gets ready to explode with ecstasy. Unfortunately, that didn't come, but there was just that split second of silence as Sakai approached the ball. And like I said, if that had gone in, I don't know what would have happened to that ground,
But instead, because it fell to his left foot, he pretty much passed it to the keeper.
Yeah.
And so you do have to just work it out. I don't care what you do, practice against the wall, whatever it is with your weak foot. Find a way to volley with it and to shoot with it, and then you will not get yourself into a problem like Sakai had yesterday. It would have, like you say, the place would have exploded.
Couple of other matters. We've been speaking about the depth building in New Zealand cricket, particularly in the white ball side, a fairly new look side wrapped up the 3-0 series win over Pakistan yesterday in Mount Maunganui. There are some quite exciting and promising young cricketers starting to make a bit of a name for themselves.
Yeah, indeed. Reece Martiu, remember the name. He scored a 50 on debut yesterday, and I think it's time for these players to step up and make the team. It's always been quite a close shot when you think about how long players can stay in the side. And I know that we've watched, witnessed excellence with people like Tim Southey, Trent Boult, Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor, so we've been spoilt. But now I just think, well, it is time for this new generation to come through, because even though we've had that golden era and we've made, World Cup finals and we've won that Test championship, to be honest, I feel like we've still been a step behind Australia and some other top sides. We really haven't been able to compete with Australia that entire time. So it's up to the next generation to do it. And to be honest, I was a bit disappointed to see that Kane Williamson has decided not to play because he's commentating in the IPL, not playing, commentating. So, look, if you're going to do that, mate, let's just let the young guys have the run of it. And he's going to retire a legend, and I'm happy for him to carry on in Test matches, and because I feel that record that he's got in Test matches is the most important thing to him. We haven't got many this year, but let him carry on. But at these other levels, I think it's time to let these guys play. And I'm talking about Mohammad Abbas. I'm talking about Mitchell Hay and Reece Martiu. Just give them the spot.
Did you, just on Kane Williamson, did you see that clip where they've basically used AI to change his language from English to Hindi?
Yeah, it's incredible. And in fact, his Hindi was so good that it almost felt just one of those things where, you're not allowed, no one's allowed to do an Indian accent anymore, Piney. They pretty much forced him into it with this AI. And it was perfect. I mean, he was speaking Hindi in this AI clip. But I was just thinking, okay, that's one of those things where initially I was going, what is going on here?
I know. It was quite confronting almost, wasn't it?
It was. And, good on them. It's just AI is taking over, I must say I've dabbled with AI songwriting and it's fun, It's not bad. But yeah, and obviously, you see a lot of images that you could tell are AI now. But it's you can easily get fooled by it. And the AI voices that come out, this is where you have to be extremely careful. And I know it's caused problems before with, fraudsters getting hold of it. So, I've heard an AI voice creator of Christopher Luxon, and it's bang on. It is bang on.
I mean, is this definitely you?
Yes, it is me, Jason Pine. Great to be on your show is the best in the world, I think. No, look, I mean, this is the whole thing. AI, can you tell? Yeah, it's tough. It is tough, but it's going to be interesting in our industry anyway. Will you get AI Piney?
Look, well, we might, but I'll never get AI James McConey. I can assure you of that. Look forward to chatting next Sunday with you or someone who sounds like you. Thanks, mate. 7-2, News Talk ZB. 4-2, Dino says, Piney, more Test cricket next season. I missed the last 3 months without it. And Hiroki Sakai had time to turn onto his right and smash that ball home. Dino, yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm not sure he did. I think it was quite nicely set for his left-footed finish. Couldn't quite do it. After 2, Moana Pacifica halfback Jonathan Taumatina is with us. And Black Caps pace bowler Ben Sears too.
The only place to discuss the biggest sports issues on and off the field. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
Welcome back or welcome in. 2:07. I'm Jason Pine. This is Weekend Sport. Andy McDonald, show producer. We're here till 3 when Tim Beveridge will barge in and take control of the microphone for the Sunday edition of the Weekend Collective. Before we let that happen, quite a bit to cover off. US sport, stateside. Leon Busby, our man, on Weekend Sport to update you on all things to do with Major League Baseball, the NBA, March Madness and other things. He's with us before 3. Ben Sears became yesterday the first New Zealand male cricketer to take consecutive 5-wicket bags in one-day internationals. And it was only his 4th one-day international yesterday. Got 5 for the other day, 5 for yesterday. Off to play for Yorkshire in county cricket in the next little while. Ben Sears joins us this hour. Very shortly, we're inside the Moana Pacifica camp after back-to-back victories for them for the first time ever. Beating the Waratahs yesterday. As I say, I left at half-time yesterday, about 3 o'clock when I left yesterday, and they were down 21-7. Ended up winning it 45-28 or something stupid. What on earth was said at half-time? Jonathan Tomatina, their halfback, will shed some light on that shortly. And actually keen to talk about the hearts and minds of Auckland sports fans. James McConey touched on it in his slot before too, but where are the hearts and minds of Auckland sports fans right now? The Blues? Moana Pacifica? The Warriors? Auckland FC? There's a lot of jockeying for position. There's only so much discretionary income. We can talk a bit about that as well, and the other Super Rugby games too. Blues getting up over the Hurricanes by a point. The Crusaders finally winning in Fiji after a long time not being able to do that. The Highlanders, what's happened to the Highlanders? What's happened to the Highlanders? I thought they were going to be better this year. Anyway, we can cover all that off. Phones are open, 0800 80 1080, 9292 on text. And if it's an email, jason@newstalkzb.co.nz. But as we tick past 2, as we like to do at this time on Weekend Sport, let's get you up to date with some of the stuff that you might have missed. Heaps of sport going on at the moment. You can't possibly stay up to date with all of it. So thankfully, we've got this feature which helps you do that, in case you missed it. Upsets galore in the NRL last night. The Eels had a win, their first of the season.
He's right in front. Zach Lomax to hand Parramatta their first win of the season, and hit it up right and went through. The former Dragon hands his coach, another former Dragon, their first wins as Parramatta Eels in 2025.
Indeed, 23-22 over the Dragons in Golden Point, and the Dolphins followed suit. They got their first win of the season.
Taupiti, Katoa, the hammer, onto Osako. Now you celebrate. Whatever handshake you got, produce it now. Flippers going off. The Dolphins, big winners here on the Gold Coast.
They steamrolled the Titans 36-10, but the Broncos returned some normal programming to the NRL roster last night.
On it goes. Ostad's drawing into. Come against the sideline. O'Donnell, a ball in the pass. All clear. Walters scores. Brisbane threatening to turn it on now.
Yeah, the Broncos smashing the West Tigers 46-24. Let's go to Super Rugby. Out west in Perth, the Western Force improved their position to 4th.
Nick White, left running ball. Out into the centre field it goes. It's with Will Harris. Will Harris to Ben Donaldson. To Harry Potter. And Harry Potter is going to score in the left-hand corner. And they hit the front.
Oh, Malcolm Jordan loved saying Harry Potter's name. 29-20. The Force winners over the Highlanders in the Premier League. A rare loss for Nottingham Forest against a rampant Aston Villa.
Matson twisting past Yates, and there's Marlon, and that's 2 in as many minutes for a rampant Aston Villa.
Wow. Brilliant football. 2-1 to Villa as they stay in touching distance of Champions League qualification. And closer to home, a small speed bump for Auckland FC. They drew with the Western Sydney Wanderers, but still stay well clear at the top of the A-League ladder.
Quickly. Milanovic. Nicholas Milanovic! A rare error from Alex Paulson and Nicholas Milanovic. 11 goals for the season now.
The scoop from the track, field and the court on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
12 minutes past 2, let's talk some Super Rugby. Moana Pacifica have won back-to-back Super Rugby matches for the first time in their history.
Slade, who's had a good game, onto Taylor. Oh my goodness me, the number 8's gone all the way. Samisi Dupo Taylor, straight through, past past 4 defenders, and the number 8 dots down. The crowd are loving it. Time's up. There goes the hooter. It's a touch from Pellegrini, and Moana have won back-to-back Super Rugby games for the first time in franchise history. They blitzed the Tars in the second half to win 45-28 at North Harbour Stadium.
Oh, magnificent call from Nathan Lim on the game yesterday after their thrilling victory over the Crusaders last weekend. Moana Pacifica have come back from 21-7 down at half-time to score 6 second-half tries and run out winners by 45 points to 28 over the Waratahs at Albany. Joined on the show by Moana Pacifica halfback Jonathan Tomatine. Jonathan, thanks for taking our call this afternoon. Back-to-back wins for the first time in franchise history for Moana Pacifica. How big a result is this for the team?
Thanks for having me on. The victory yesterday was massive for us. I mean, obviously we haven't done back-to-back ever in Super Rugby, so to get that under the belt and to be able to do it in front of our people was amazing.
After the win over the Crusaders last week, I guess there would have been the potential to get a bit carried away. How important was it that you backed up what you did last weekend back at home yesterday?
Yeah, well, it's funny you said that because Tana was real big on the boys just being grounded after a big win last week. He made it clear on Monday that we better stay on because we knew the Waratahs were going to bounce back. So for us to be able to stay on and stick to our game plan and got the win yesterday, it was massive.
Yeah, you were 21-7 down though at half time. So how was Tana at the break?
No, he was chill. We kind of knew that. We kind of knew, like, 14 points down. We didn't really play rugby in that first half. We're pretty much on the defensive end. And when we did have a chance in the first half, we just one pass away from scoring points. So we knew we were in it. We just needed a great start and hold on to the ball.
And was that the main thing that changed in the second half? You know, it was night and day in terms of, ball in hand for you guys and scoring the points. Was that the main thing that changed after the break?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, for our team, that belief was always there. It's pretty massive in our group. And we knew what we could do and the players we had on our team. We had some great leaders out there as well at the time, so we just needed to hold on to the ball.
And you are the competition's leading point scorers, 274 now in your 7 games, 40 tries in 7 games. Can you give us some insight into the attack strategy and why it is so successful?
Oh, man, there's a lot of points. I mean, we're pretty massive on getting one-on-ones. So I think that's part of our superpowers as Polynesians. So as long as we hold the ball on and get it to the people who's pretty dangerous out wide, and then our big forwards just doing the work up front, or they better be scoring off all those picking goes from the forwards. So yeah.
We had Tana on the show last week, actually, after the Crusaders game, and he said that he was doing his best to try and blend the Polynesian flair that you've just talked about there with a greater structure around the way that you play the game consistently across 80 minutes. Is that something that he is enforcing or imposing on you as well to try and do?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we knew we always love a bit of razzle and bring our poly flavour in, but it's still hard work to be done first. So in order for us to score points and bring out that poly flair that we have, we firstly have to work hard, and we call it a Moana work rate.
It's also, as well as scoring points, you have conceded a few as well. So does defence continue to be a work on for the team?
Yeah, that's it. It's just like we're heavily focused on our defence, but it's just little moments where we switch off. To take breaks, I guess, on the field. I don't know why. And then that's when we're letting points in. But yeah, we just got to stay on for full 80.
Now, what about your big front rower, Feleti Saita Ufo'au, with a hat-trick of tries? Has he stopped talking about that?
Man, I think his assignment was just get 40 minutes in and he comes off. And I think that's why he just went hard looking for the ball.
Yeah, it was awesome. And what about the 9-10 combo that you're starting to develop with Patrick Pellegrini? Can you talk a bit about how much you're enjoying that?
Yeah, he's pretty razzly, man. So all I'm trying to do is put the ball in front of him and just listen to what he wants to do and, yeah, let him do his thing. I mean, he's been sharp lately, so yeah.
And have you gotten used to barking orders at Ardie Savea yet?
For me, I'm doing it in my head.
Oh, man. But I don't know whether this is true. You might be able to tell us, but it feels to me like a guy like Ardie Savea would want his halfback to be in constant communication, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty close with him, so I guess that allows me to bark orders at him a little bit. But I just got to watch that. And there's always a firm line, so I just got to watch and stay down that line. So I think I've been good.
How big's his influence been on this team?
Oh, it's massive. We all know what Ardie can do, and especially a leader. I mean, we all see what he can do on field, but I think it's more the off field that's really played a big part in the way our boys are playing at the moment. He's a real leader for us.
What about you, JT? You've been around the game for a while. I remember you during your Hurricanes days, and you know you've played a lot of rugby. How much are you enjoying it at the moment with Moana Pacifica compared to the rugby you've played across your career?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it right now. Just being around our people, the culture is obviously pretty big here, and just be able to help out and to see where this team is now compared to 30 years ago, it's amazing. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're ideally placed to talk about the development and the progress. As you say, you've been there since day one. When it first started, did you always feel as though the progress would come, even though, early on the wins weren't coming? Did you always feel like days like yesterday and last week would come?
I mean, yeah, 100%. The belief was always there. We just knew that every movement's going to take a while to take off, and it's so good to see that we're starting to put things together now and starting to get more wins.
And the Blues next, Eden Park, next Saturday. That's going to be like a home game for you guys, isn't it?
Pretty much. Sticking home now, I guess.
Oh, man, I can imagine, man. You'll have your people turning up for that, won't you?
That'll be so cool, yeah. It'll be so cool.
All right, well, enjoy the weekend or the rest of it, JT. Good to get the chance to catch up with you. Congratulations on a terrific performance from the team yesterday, and all the best for the week ahead as you plan for the Blues.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you, JT, for joining us. Jonathan Tomatina there, the halfback from Moana Pacifica, has started every game this season. Moana Pacifica are real. They are a real team now. They could make the six. They really could. You look at the table at the moment. They're currently 8th, but they're only 2 points behind the Waratahs. So they're a win behind. It's really tight. So Chiefs 26, Crusaders 24, Reds 23, Force 20, Brumbies 19, Waratahs 17, Hurricanes and Moana Pacifica both 15, then Highlanders 12, Blues 11, Fiji and Drua, who have been the only real disappointment, really, of this season, down in last place with 7 points. Moana Pacifica could absolutely make the top 6. They've got the Blues next Saturday at Eden Park, 4:35 kickoff. What a contest that promises to be. The Blues getting a bit of their mojo back last night, beating the Hurricanes. So there, I guess they'll think, back on track. Moana Pacifica could easily go to Eden Park and win that game on the evidence of the last 2 weekends. And I'll be so interested to see where the weight of support on the day is. Because it feels to me as though the Moana Pacifica fan base will mobilise themselves for this game next Saturday. I don't know. I could be way off here. But I reckon there'll be more people at that ground cheering for Moana Pacifica than there will be for the Blues. I mean, it's a cross-town derby, basically. In fact, Moana Pacifica have got a big fan base in South Auckland, haven't they? So they actually don't have to go as far to get to Eden Park compared to Albany, where they've been playing their home games. So Moana Pacifica, they've got the Blues next week. Then they welcome the Brumbies. Now, that game's at Pukekohe. Then the Fiji and Drua, back at Albany. May is a little bit trickier for them. They travel to Dunedin to take on the Highlanders. Then they have the Blues in the return fixture at Albany, and then away against the Chiefs and the Hurricanes to finish the season. That is tough. So the next month, the month of April, could be quite pivotal for them. And just on just on the sporting landscape in Auckland. I've spent a little bit of time here recently commentating Auckland FC games, and the battle for the hearts and the minds and, crucially, the wallets of sports fans in Auckland is well and truly on. Because right now there are 4 elite men's sports teams playing in our biggest city at the same time. Blues, Moana Pacifica, Warriors, Auckland FC. And most people can't afford to go to them all. They have to make a choice. Now, Go Media Stadium yesterday was absolutely jumping for that Auckland FC game. It's great there anyway, but yesterday it just felt to me when I got there and during the game that it had gone up another level. The fizz inside that place was incredible. It's the same with the Warriors, isn't it? When they play there, they've found the formula for selling out that place and engaging with their community. Moana Pacifica yesterday, out at Albany. I only saw it on television, obviously, but it looked as though there was an atmosphere going on there as Moana Pacifica connect with their fan base, even at a slightly unlikely venue of North Harbour, if we're honest. And then the Blues, Eden Park last night, one of the marquee fixtures in any Super Rugby season, Blues v Hurricanes. And I don't know, how many were there? 8 or 9,000? Andy went along to boost the numbers. And the bar take, no doubt, at Eden Park last night. How many would there have been at Eden Park last night?
I'd cap it at 8,000, which made it a pretty quick trip through the bars, to be honest.
Well, that's the upside. But 8,000 in that cavernous stadium, it's hard to get an atmosphere going.
I don't want to be too critical, but it was a pretty dour environment to be in. And unfortunately, it was the Super Rugby's been fantastic, the games, and that was unfortunately fell way short of the mark entertainment-wise than most other games this season. But that happens, granted, but it just a lot of unfortunate things all came together to deliver what was ultimately a pretty ordinary occasion, unfortunately.
See, I think the standard of the rugby has been really, really good. Really, really good. The standard of Super Rugby, the jeopardy, the contest that we're getting, not knowing from week to week who is going to beat who, and we had some more examples of that yesterday, is excellent. The level of the rugby is excellent, and the television coverage as well. And I think what we provide on Gold Sport and iHeartRadio as well is very, very good too. But it just seems to me as though the Blues, I don't know, it just doesn't feel, comparative to the Warriors and to Auckland FC and even to Moana Pacifica, it doesn't feel like they've quite connected with the fan base and provided the match day vibe or experience that you get at the other places. Like I say, it's not a code bash here because the rugby, it's compelling. I hardly miss a game of Super Rugby now. I watch every game, and if I can't watch it live, I'll watch it back. Not just because I have to for the job, but because I want to. I want to watch Super Rugby. But for an on-the-day experience, it's night and day between an Auckland FC game and a Blues game. And yes, the kickoff time is another thing. Auckland FC have nailed it with the 5 o'clock kickoffs. Perfect time. But if you haven't been to a game, honestly, go along. And then, you tell me what you think. And for those of you who have gone, I know you're sold on it. The number of people who say they go to an Auckland FC game for the first time and then as soon as they've been there 10 minutes, when can we come again? Keen for your thoughts, 0800 80 10 80, 9292 on text. Just before we move, a look ahead to what's on the agenda next weekend in Super Rugby. What are we up to? Round 9, I think it is. Round 9. Not that really matters. I think we're halfway through, aren't we, in terms of games played for most of the teams. There are 14 games in a season. Most teams have played 7. So round 9 starts next Friday night, or this coming Friday night. Hurricanes, Crusaders, another big one. Sky Stadium, followed by Waratahs, Chiefs. That's your Friday night. Then on Saturday, Blues, Moana Pacifica, as mentioned, 4:35. Highlanders, Drua. Big game for the Highlanders. Must win that game. Must win that game. Simply must win that game. And Reds, Brumbies to finish the weekend. So the games involving the New Zealand sides, we will have them all for you on Gold Sport and on iHeartRadio. If you'd like to make a point around Moana Pacifica, around the Blues, around the Auckland sporting landscape, lines are open. 0800 80 1080 9292 on text. Hello, Chris.
G'day, mate. Hey, it's good to see Moana Pacifica pulling out 2 good results in a row, because they were sort of a team that was thrown together to keep the numbers up, but now they're making some dents in big teams. I'm a Crusader, and we lost to them last weekend, so it's good to see that they're actually punching above their weight. They've knocked over the Crusaders and the Waratahs, and from watching them, they're playing with a lot of confident rugby and Polynesian flair. So this is great for the competition.
Oh, Chris, absolutely right. Oh, look, 11 strong teams is what you want. And Moana Pacifica just haven't delivered on their undoubted promise consistently enough, anywhere near consistently enough since they entered the competition. They are now starting to.
And that's great, because we've got the Fijian Drua, and they've made some upsets over their times as well. So this competition is actually really good. This is the best Super Rugby season I've seen for years in terms of the quality of the games. And it doesn't matter whether it's the Australians playing the Kiwi teams or the Polynesian side. It's a really good competition. So we've got a lot to look forward to in the future. But I wanted to say something about Eden Park.
Yes.
I think the best idea for the Blues would probably go to Mount Smart for their games outside of any finals performances, and have that smaller crowd in a smaller stadium. And instead of, when you watch an Auckland Blues game, it's vast, it's a big stadium, and you're never going to fill it for a Super Rugby game, so don't use it. Take them to Mount Smart and try and wiggle room around the soccer side and the league team, and have a more intimate crowd, and the people that will go to that game will feel more engaged.
Yeah,
so I think the Blues have got to look at that. Using a 55,000, whatever it is, seat stadium for 9,000 people, it's not good. It's like when you watch the rugby league in Sydney, if you have South versus the Gold Coast at their Stadium Australia, and there's 10,000 people there, you're looking at the empty seats, not the full ones. So I just think it's a good idea to, open your eyes and see what it is, and reject these ticket sales, and do the right thing by the fans, and encourage the environments to be hyper, like Auckland FC have.
Indeed, Chris. Got to move, mate, unfortunately. But no, you make a great point. You do. And unfortunately, I don't think the Blues can fit in at Mount Smart. I think Warriors and Auckland FC, once you block out those dates, I'm not sure that there's much left as far as the Blues are concerned. Thanks for your call, mate. 29 away from 3. Got to get a breakaway. When we come back, we're into the Black Caps camp. Ben Sears, back-to-back fifers. He's on the show after this.
Crouch, hold, engage. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
26-3, the Black Caps have claimed an ODI series sweep over Pakistan. A 43-run win in the third game at Bay Oval yesterday.
He's got one last chance. And that is up, and that is out, and he's done it. Back-to-back 5-wicket bags for Ben Sears. That's the game. New Zealand win by 43. 10 wickets in the series, just the 2 games. Great finish off his final delivery. He gets it done.
Yeah, back-to-back 5-wicket bags for Ben Sears in just his 4th ODI. The first time a New Zealand bowler's ever done that. And taking out man of this series as well. Ben Sears is with us. Congratulations on the last couple of games, Ben. Clean sweep for the series for New Zealand as well. So what's gone so well over these 3 matches for the Black Caps?
I just think, obviously it's a new team coming in. Everyone was, with quite a few guys over at the IPL, I think everybody was, just super keen to get stuck in and just, put their best product out there. And, it was just good fun.
Yeah, how enjoyable was it being part of what might be called a pretty fresh-looking white ball team? How exciting was that?
Oh, it was awesome, yeah. Just obviously a bit of a different bowling unit with myself and Duff coming in, and obviously Wars was at the Champions Trophy, but it was really just a great group of guys. Really enjoyed playing together, and it was good fun.
So back-to-back 5-wicket bags for you. Even when you got your 5th wicket yesterday, there's only really a hint of a smile from you. You must have enjoyed, though, contributing to another win in this way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, it was great fun being out there, just to have, Jacob Duffy and Willow Rourke bowling so well at the top. It was an awesome opportunity just to come in behind them and see if I could add a little bit. And the pressure they built through those games, all three of them really, would just put us on just such on the front foot that the guys are coming hard at me, and it was nice. It was nice to get a few wickets on the back of that.
What is your bowling strategy in 50-over cricket?
Well, I just guess the main focus is just trying to build on the pressure that the bowlers have built before you, making sure, I think, like on the wickets we're playing on there was a bit in them, so just trying to get it into good areas, especially when you've got bowling to guys like Babar Azam, who's pretty world-class. Trying to build pressure, and then when you get the opportunity to get it down there a little bit quicker and a little bit, freer. Just taking advantage of that as well.
The thing that stands out for me, Ben, is your strike rate. A wicket every 20 balls in ODIs, every 17 balls in T20 internationals. In all T20 matches, you get a wicket every 15 balls. In a game where restricting runs is paramount, are you pretty much given licence to do that by bowling wicket-taking deliveries as often as you can?
I think, to be honest, I've just been lucky to play with some really good bowlers so far. So I was playing, last season, obviously Tim Southey was there, Willow Rourke, he's been outstanding, and so those guys, Matt Henry, phenomenal, and obviously Jacob Duffy at the moment was just the number one 2020 bowler in the world, so it's unbelievable to play with. And so when you play with those guys and they build dot ball pressure, they put the batsmen under pressure. Just so happens when you first change bowl, they come out. Batsmen often come after you. So just bowling coming in, just trying to get my product down there after them. You get lucky sometimes. You get a few wickets, and it's just how it's panned out.
Well, you've done a tremendous job of deflecting any personal praise away from yourself there, I must say, mate, to your bowling unit, which I know that's what you're all about. But, I mean, has the way, you've developed as a white ball bowler changed? Is this the best you've bowled with a white ball? I think it's always changing. I was injured quite a bit of this season, so there's a lot of time to think about how you're going to bowl, and I'm just trying to get more accurate, more consistent, just use my bouncer more regularly. But it's been cool, and it's certainly developing. But just trying to, especially while you're not playing, just trying to constantly think so you can improve during those times as well. How is your pace compared to other times in your career? It's been coming out really well. I think just certainly in 50-over cricket, it's just picking when to use the aggression there. Like I was saying before, with the wickets we've had, or the wicket yesterday was doing a bit with the seam, so just making first and foremost, just trying to make sure that you're in a good area. And then when you get a sniff with, or a new batsman coming in, or someone who doesn't like a short ball, or something like that, just really trying to crank it up there a bit. Just give yourself the best chance. Now, what about Michael Bracewell's catch yesterday? Did you get a decent view of it? I saw the dive. I didn't see the catch itself, but he does Hollywood a little bit. So he had to put some nail on it. I don't think he needed the dive, but it was a good catch. He doesn't drop many, He's got big buckets of hands, hasn't he? No, he's a heck of a fielder. He's a heck of a cricketer. And leading the team too. I mean, I know that wasn't the original plan, but he stepped into that leadership role. Obviously, he's done it for Wellington a lot, but he must have. Well, what did you observe from him in his leadership of this team?
Oh, yeah, Beast is. Yeah, he's a true leader. Like he's just a really good guy. Genuinely, it gets around you, looks after you. Having him at mid off is just best case scenario. And so, just have him step in there. Like, obviously, he's he's stepping in for Mitch Santner and then Tom Latham, but they're awesome as well. But just having played with Beast at Wellington and, that sense of familiarity is just, you can't pay for that. So, it was just awesome.
Yeah, it feels like Wellington's taking over this team. You and him, Mohamed Abbas, Nathan Smith, Nick Kelly in there now as well. Nice to have the Firebirds so well represented.
Oh, yeah, heck yeah. It's awesome just having those guys around. You've played so much cricket with them. Obviously, Rachin and Dev and Blundell, and there's all those guys there as well. Tim Robinson in the T20. So it's awesome to have a massive contingent, sense of familiarity. And then, when you start looking in with guys like the Dustman and stuff like that from out of here, it's a really good group of guys.
And you had that one test match, Ben, against Australia last summer, 4 wickets in the second innings. Looked like you loved it in the white clothing for New Zealand. How strong is your appetite for more test cricket for the Black Caps?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you just certainly want to play as much as I can. Grateful for every opportunity I get. Just see how it pans out. Obviously there's a great group of, there's a lot of bowlers coming through. Duff's obviously bowling phenomenally well. If I get another opportunity, I'm absolutely fizzing for it.
And you're off to play county cricket for Yorkshire. When do you head off?
I head off on the 11th. So, pretty soon. I'm really super excited for that. So, I can't wait to get over there.
Yeah, well, you're heading off in good form, Ben. Congrats on the last couple of games, couple of 5-wicket bags for you and man of the series. Thanks for chatting to us, mate. All the best in the northern summer, and we'll catch you when you get home.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
No, appreciate you joining us, Ben. Thanks indeed. Ben Sears on News Talk ZB, 18-3.
You be the TMO. Have your say on 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
2:45. Let's get you stateside to update you on all things American sport with our man Leon Busby. Leon, thanks for joining us as always. Let's start with basketball and the March Madness into the playoffs.
Yeah, so March Madness is into the final stages with the women's Final Four taking place. It took place yesterday in Tampa, Florida, and today in San Antonio for the men. This year, there was a bit of pushback because there were no Cinderella stories. That's when a much lower seeded team upsets one of the favourites. But at the end of the day, we were left with the best 4 teams at both competitions. So yesterday, in the women's Final Four, we saw in semi-final 1 the overall top seed, the UCLA Bruins. They lost heavily to the number 2 seed, the UConn Huskies. In the other semi-final, the number 1 seed and defending champion, South Carolina Gamecocks, an interesting name, also dominated, defeating the Texas Longhorns in another lopsided game. So hard to pick a win in the national championship game as both UConn and South Carolina evenly matched, but should be a compelling contest nonetheless, Piney.
Absolutely, looking forward to that. And, of course, the men's game's on at the moment, so we'll see who's cutting down the net, as they say, next Tuesday. You're right, though, about March Madness. It is about the Cinderella stories, isn't it, when a less fancy team gets up over the top of somebody who's ranked much higher. Just a lack of those this year, no particular reason. It's just the way that it went. The top sides just remained the top sides?
Yeah, it's just the way it panned out this year, so... everyone loves to see the Cinderella story, but for obvious reasons, it just didn't happen this year. And so there was a bit of pushback from the fans, but at the end of the day, we've got the best teams competing for that national title.
Okay, let's go to Major League Baseball. And I want to start with the torpedo bat. This seems to be dominating discussion now. Unlike a traditional bat that tapers down towards a thick end cap, the torpedo bat shifts that mass lower down the barrel. It creates a bowling pin-like shape. And I guess the idea is to concentrate the weight where the players most often make contact. So it gives hitters more power and control. Why has there been so much discussion about these new bats?
Yeah, I don't know if I should say too much more. Pony, you stole my thunder there, but there's been a lot of discussion around the recent use of this bat. So for your listening audience, I'll try to explain it the best that I can. So it was first used last year by All-Star Yankee Giancarlo Stanton. He's a renowned slugger in Major League Baseball. So in October of last year, when he first started using it, his batting average for that month increased dramatically when he hit 7 home runs over a 14-game span. Then you fast forward to this season where the Yankees batters, they crushed 15 home runs in their first 3 games of the season using that particular bat. Now, that's an unprecedented strike rate, Piney, and the numbers bear this out. So there are currently 41 approved manufacturers that supply bats for the Major League Baseball. The bats themselves have to meet strict measurement criteria, as you alluded to, and as long as they are within those parameters, you can distribute the weight of the bat however you want. Now, with that in mind, the creator of the unconventional torpedo bat is a retired physics professor, Aaron Leonard, who at the time was a New York Yankees front office staffer but is now employed by the Miami Marlins as a field coordinator. The logic that Leonard had was to redistribute the weight of the bat, in a sense moving the so-called sweet spot to where the batter strikes the ball most frequently, which is about 6 or 7 inches down from the end of the bat. Now, I won't go any deeper than that, I would be here all day, Piney, but the torpedo bat is well within the rules and any player can use it. Just to note that not all Major League Baseball players choose to use that bat, but it's certainly a game changer. Personally, I think it's a positive innovation for baseball because in recent years, pitching has dominated to the detriment of the game.
Yeah, and crowds love big hits, which they're getting with the torpedo bat. Yeah, absolutely. So we're still early on in the Major League Baseball season, but how are the standings panning out in the American League and the National League?
Yeah, so in terms of early season pitch, Pine, it's a long regular season grind. As you know, 162 games before the playoffs even begin. Now, I mean, it's a real war of attrition for Major League Baseball in terms of the amount of games they play. And the team that lifts the Commissioner's Trophy at the conclusion of the World Series, you'll find, has the deepest and healthiest roster. So currently the teams that are off to a good start are the defending champion LA Dodgers, of course, then the San Diego Padres, and the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League. In the American League, the Texas Rangers, New York Yankees, and LA Angels are leading the way. However, if you were to compare both leagues, the National League is far superior to the American League in terms of overall winning percentage. Case in point, 10 of the 15 teams in the National League are over 500, while in the American League, only 6 of the 15 are 500 or better. A big disparity there.
Let's go to the NBA then, where we find ourselves near the end of the regular season, 82-game regular season, about 77, 78 games for most of these teams. Where are we with those teams that are likely to be playoff bound and those who are making a late season run for it?
In the NBA, there are only a handful of games left before the postseason starts. In the Eastern Conference, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers and defending champion Boston Celtics basically ahead of everybody else there. However, in the top-heavy Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder, although they're one of the younger teams in the league, they have the best record, closely followed by the Houston Rockets. And the next 6 teams following them are jostling for position to try and secure that all-important home court advantage in the opening rounds of the playoffs.
What about for MVP discussion, Leon? That's always as big a discussion as who's actually going to win the whole thing. Who are the main names in the discussion for MVP?
Yes, so this discussion or this narrative has been going on for a while now. So there's much speculation around this because, as most people are aware, OKC Thunder star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, everyone calls him SGA, is odds-on favourite to win his first individual award despite 3-time MVP winner. The Denver Nuggets' Nikola Jokic putting up historic numbers this year and is on pace for the greatest statistical season of the modern era. This season, the Joker is averaging a triple-double, and a few games ago recorded an incredible 61, 10, and 10 in a double overtime game in which Denver lost. That's crazy numbers there. So if we relate that to the NBA, an obvious example when we think back is when Michael Jordan was playing in the NBA during his tenure with the Chicago Bulls. Everyone knew he was the best player in the league year in, year out, but was not awarded the regular season MVP award every year. Some of those that voted felt like it was time to give someone else the award, even though that player was close to being, but not widely considered the best player that season. Another very recent example was in the NFL this past season. Previous 2-time MVP winner, Lamar Jackson, he's a quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. had much better numbers in his previous MVP years, but the voters chose to award the regular season MVP to Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, who had a breakout year. This was because the voters were tired of Jackson and felt it was someone else's turn to win the coveted award. Now, in a way, that seems really unfair because to vote against a more deserving player, it happens more often than we think, but I hope in a way that sheds some light on the debate about the MVP race in the NBA and the likely outcome.
Yeah, it certainly does, Leon. Thanks as always for your time. Leon Busby, stateside with us regularly here on Weekend Sport. 7 to 3.
Breaking down the Hail Marys and the epic fails. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
4 to 3, that is us on Weekend Sport for today. Thanks for listening and huge thanks to Andy McDonald, legend, great guest this weekend. Don't forget all of our material is available as a podcast. Just search for Weekend Sport wherever you get your podcasts. Tim Beveridge after 3. Song to take us out today. Well, Japanese Grand Prix. Only a couple of hours away. Turning Japanese, Andy. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't want to say anything.
All right, let's just let the song play, shall we? See you tomorrow night on Sports Talk.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.